Hello, I'm Maurice Stewart, host of the astronomy podcast Sky Viewers International Podcast. And my guest today is Mr. Michael Marlin. And he is, the only way I can term him is that he is a serial entrepreneur, right? With multiple businesses. He has his hands everywhere. But for our purposes, he is a representative of the International Dark Sky Movement. So we will be focusing our talk on astronomy and dark sky. Uh, Marlin, he prefers to be called Marlin. So I
Thank you.
will honor his wish to call him by his last name. Marlin, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on, Maurice.
Can you tell us something before we start talking? Can astronomy, just tell us something about a background, because I know you're a very important man. In fact, you received the President Obama gave you some award there for your community service. You want to give us some background information?
Sure. I've been in show business all my life. I ran away with the circus. Eventually, I became a professional juggler and performing both overseas and the United States. One time while traveling between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, both places which are very, very bright. Some friends of mine took me out to see Halley's Comet go by. And I was really just enthralled with the night sky and thinking to myself, good heavens, this goes by unnoticed every night because our lights are on. So I started exploring performance art and doing performance art in the dark to raise awareness of the loss of our night sky due to light pollution.
Is that the
That's
Luma movement? Is that your Luma?
Yes, that was the genesis and the beginning of me creating a theatrical production that involved 7 people, that was done entirely in the dark and played to 15 countries on 5 continents. And it was called Luma Art in Darkness and also Luma Theater of Light. There was 2 versions of the show. This work, after touring for 20 years, got the attention of the International Dark Sky Association and the International Astronomical Union. And they basically asked me to become delegates and ambassadors because I was doing dark sky advocacy, but through the arts. And now I'm doing it through my work as an author of the book Astrotourism.
I
And
was just about to ask you that.
okay.
Oh,
Go ahead and
just
ask.
about. See, I got to pull you back here. I was
Yeah.
just about to say that you wrote a book called Astrotourism, Space, Stargazers, Eclipse, Chasers, and the Dark Sky Movement. What is the book about? And what inspired you to write this book?
The book is the first book written for the supply side of a dark sky. There have been a few books written for the astrotourist, but none written about the industry and this new emerging market. So it's written for those people who live under a dark sky and wish to cater to the astrotourist. Um, what inspired me was when Scott Frerbrand, who's the executive director of the International Dark Sky Association, invited me to speak at the 2017 IDA AGM in Boston. I spoke about how the arts can enact social change. And then they had me back again the next season in 2018 in Snowbird. And I was speaking on how to capture the imagination of the next generation, since this is who we are preserving our dark skies for. Um, how I came about to write the book was I saw an ad on LinkedIn that they were looking for textbooks for businesses, and it was like middle management or economic trends, but there was a section for hospitality and tourism. So I pitched them an idea of a book on astrotourism, and they gave me a contract, and I wrote the book.
Just like that.
No, it took 2 years, so there was no just like that.
Can you
There's
describe
a
the,
lot.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, describe the book.
Yeah, well, how does it relate to, say, stargazing or, or the dark sky movement or space?
Yes. So originally, astrotourism was called astronomical tourism, and it started in the 40s, and it was just astronomers and other folks going out to watch celestial events. Now, as technology changed, tourism changes. So when they started launching rockets into space, people would come out and see those. So now you've expanded the field of astrotourism because you're now connecting it to rocket launches or rocket reentries. The book explores this the growth of this movement and how through surveys by the Airbnb and the Starlight Foundation saw this tremendous growth of visitation around these IDA certified parks and reserves and sanctuaries. It explores how planetarium visits, over 140 million people visit a planetarium each year. That's a form of virtual um, stargazing for people who live under a dome of light. And my belief is that the more that we move astrotourism into the mainstream, the more people will want to protect the dark skies that remain.
Can you describe the dark sky movement?
The dark sky movement came about when I think it initially began in earnest. Well, back in '87, when I started mentioning light pollution, people are like, "What? What's light pollution? I don't get that." But then the first images from space by satellites looking at the Earth all lit up, and then people started to understand the impact of this light that was going up into space. If you can see light from space, that's wasted light, wasted energy. So, 80% of North Americans cannot see the Milky Way. 60% of Europeans can't see the Milky Way. 99% of the world's population live under some form of light pollution. And I describe lights as like rats. Rats follow human civilization. So do lights.
Yep. Now, on to our next question here. How can you share with us the social and economic benefits of having a dark sky
Oh,
or,
absolutely.
getting dark sky status? Because I
And
noticed that you are in demand all over, right, to talk about this.
um, I can speak locally. What I'm doing, yes, thank you for the question. I have spoken to state tourism agencies who are looking to create an astro economy. I've spoken to city councils, the city of South Lake Tahoe. After I gave my presentation to them, they decided to move towards a dark sky initiative to protect the dark skies over Lake Tahoe. Right now, I'm working with elected officials here on the Big Island of Hawaii, and we'll be speaking to them, the county council, on April 19th about moving forward to protect the district of Kau, which is about 1,000 square miles, um, to preserve and turn that into a dark sky reserve. Now, the benefits of initiating dark sky initiatives, the benefits are it reduces light pollution, obviously, it reduces energy consumption, it reduces greenhouse gases, it reduces costs, it improves safety, it protects nocturnal wildlife like night pollinators and migratory birds and marine life. It protects human health. It is an economic stimulator, and it also preserves cultural heritage. which is something that they're very interested here in Hawaii, as all cultures have their own stories of the stars. And when we lose our view of the stars, now we lose those stories.
What connection do you think we have with the universe?
What connection do we have with the universe? Well,
You
I
mentioned
think
a
it's,
while ago that different cultures have
yes,
different concepts of the sky. And that is something, that's somewhere I'm going deeply in these podcasts here to show that when we talk about astronomy, we have to talk about cultural or indigenous astronomy.
yeah, yes, yes, yes. Well, our the history of the human species is stitched into the stars, because with our study of the stars, humans learned to navigate across land and sea. They learned when to plant, when to harvest, when to shear the sheep, when to gather the eggs, when the fish would run, when the animals would migrate. So it's through our study of the stars that we were able to actually evolve as a species. And my own hypotheses and theory now is that our actual cellular makeup was evolved through our exposure to sun, star, moon, and firelight for however many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years that we've existed as a species on this planet. Our ocular nerves evolved in relationship to those types of light: sunlight, starlight, moonlight, firelight. It's only within the last 150 years, maybe 6 or 7 generations, that we've been exposed to electrical light. And now, even more recently, we're being exposed to this blue rich white LED light, which we're just not equipped to handle. So that's how I think it's we're tied to it, to the cosmos.
Good. And how did this come about that President Obama honored you?
That was I'm in I was involved with a project called Boys to Men, which is a mentoring program that provides boys mature masculine modeling, sitting in circle with boys on how to what it means to be a man. For hundreds of thousands of years, men sat in circle, and there was a time in every boy's life where the boy was taken from his mother, and the mother would wail and cry and scream because she knew her boy was going to die. And they took the boy out into the wilderness, and the boy went through a rites of passage. And when he crossed that threshold, he was now a man. And when he came back to his village, he couldn't hide under his mother's skirts anymore as a child does. Instead, he went from being the protected to being the protector.
Protector.
Yeah. And that's the different that's moving from boy psychology to man psychology. And it was my work doing this along with other men that President Obama gave me the Presidential Service Volunteer Award.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And what a great president to get it from, too.
Well, where can people find your book? If people want to look at your book for dark, especially dark skies, or perhaps I should be more specific. Yeah. First of all, where can people find your book? You're on Amazon, where?
Yeah, Amazon, you can just simply punch in astrotourism stargazers and it'll automatically populate. Um, so yes, it can be found there.
Or they
And
can just go to Google and punch in Michael Marlin and boom, you come up.
well, that may take you to some other sites and my website and my work as a juggler and other things. But if you want the book, punch in astrotourism. It's the only book with the name astrotourism.
Okay. And so you see astrotourism as a great opportunity in dark sky areas where they can improve the economy by inviting people from outside, especially people who have an interest in astronomy, to come to the dark sky area and mix their vacation with some astronomy, right?
Absolutely. It one of the things that's great about astrotourism is that it spreads the tourist dollar to remote areas that would normally not see that additional influx of revenue. And I have a small little Airbnb operation out here on the big island of Hawaii. And it is so wonderful when people get out of their car and look up and they see the Milky Way for the first time. And it's like the closest thing I think to people have to a spiritual experience when they realize that they're part of all of that. And and the tremendous irony is that that starlight has taken millions of light years to reach our eyes, and it's being shouted out right at the finish line by a street light over our head. And when we can't see the heavens that we belong to, we forget that we belong to the heavens.
Good point. Good point, Marlin. Good point. And we're running out of time here, so I just want to thank you for stopping by. I wish I had an hour or more to talk with you. You're such an interesting man. So you take care and enjoy the rest of your what evening? Is it in Hawaii now?
It's daytime now. Yeah.
Daytime now. Okay.
And,
Right.
and thank you for having me on, Maurice, and
My
stay light
pleasure.
and enjoy the dark.
I will. And we should keep looking up. My
Aloha.
guest, right, aloha. My guest is Marlin from Hawaii, and he's a serial entrepreneur. But for our purpose here, he is an ambassador for the International Dark Sky Movement and other dark sky associations. Take care until the next podcast.